and Michael was Sunday.
Well, that was it. They were saying the beer
That's
tent
how it
was
worked
like,
out.
looked like
Oh
it was
my
going to take
gosh.
off.
I know, it
because
was like,
they were
drop
saying
them
the
off,
wind was so
come
bad.
home,
We had
reload the car,
Reload.
do it again, go the other direction.
dropped and
Wow,
getting
yeah,
center and
exactly.
going
That's what I was
back,
like, you had to
so
go in
we
two
made
opposite
the right
directions.
call.
Yeah, it was great though. They're excited.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
We went to meet the teacher.
Now you
for all
have an
four of them.
only child.
I know,
All
poor
the
Suze.
school
We're like,
supplies dropped
what's going
off
on now? What are you
tomorrow.
doing? What do you want to do for dinner? What's going on?
Half day, so I'll have a
Oh my
quiet
gosh.
She's like, oh my god, I need other
Until
people's
1
schedules
until
around.
1 o'clock. And then the rest of the week, silence.
Too much time, too much
Wow.
focus.
Yeah.
Real
Which I
nice.
just need to tell her what
Quite
she's
the
doing.
summer.
Okay.
These two different
I know. I know. We didn't have any other committees. Yeah, I was out of town, so. How you doing? Where'd you go?
I hope
Yes, that was awesome. Right?
Right. Just
pretty.
one foot in front of the other, right? Yeah. We went to Cabo.
But wait, there's the one thing
Quote,
that
unquote. We went to Mexico. Yeah, we went to Mexico earlier. Good memory. Yeah.
Way more than I can
Since
say.
my wife got married, we already had this trip.
I know. I'm sorry.
Let's go to see Taylor too. Yes, all the. Yes, we had
Right,
some-
so okay, so we do the first one.
England doesn't do it anymore.
And then we got this stuff.
Yeah.
We've got the whole big
Oh, we don't do it.
So
anymore. Paris always-
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
she's
got
gonna talk about the actual project.
Awesome. Mexico, same thing. Give it away.
Yeah, the usual. Yep.
Otherwise, what did you have?
Yep. Yes.
Is that the book?
Okay, I don't know about
This
that.
might be just an extra.
So yes, we went back down
All
to
right,
the
all right.
quote unquote
Oh,
one
okay.
the HAC Gala trip where you know they bid it up
Okay.
and what have you, and 4 or 5
I guess I could ask
families
Casey,
win
but we're
and
right
stuff.
at
So
time.
we had to use
So
it by the end of
so this-
December.
we
So
do
my
this
wife
first
booked it in
one.
like January.
And then we have new
Oh yeah,
business
this will get our one trip in the summer. And all, of a sudden,
Many?
all my friends get married. All my other friends get married. Their destination. Oh, okay. Now we added those. And I tell you guys, like we went to my daughter's softball tournament for a week in Indiana and stuff, and the other lacrosse tournaments. And like, some of our friends are like, "Can we get adopted? Because this is awesome."
Yeah.
Yeah, go right ahead. Just come along at this point.
Okay.
Oh, I got two.
But this is it.
August
That
and
was the
July.
last one. We're good
Sure,
till
sure.
we're good till December.
Until-
We're good till I told my wife, I go, that's it. Like we need to pause. I need to bring a suitcase for a little while. Catch up on all the stuff in my house that I haven't done for the entire summer. Because I think we were only home one weekend.
Wow.
The entire kids break.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, that's something. It's a lot. Like, and then like we were saying, that the fest at the end of 4 days of outside running around, you're like, okay, I just want to lay on the couch for a little while and watch some TV.
So which one am I reading?
At the end.
Okay.
So Nicole, please, you'll read the first one.
Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
Just have it. So they write them instead of Jim because they
Oh, yeah, these are not easy to take on
one at a time.
Get them. I mean,
I'm Casey. Yeah, Casey's going. I'm going.
So you just read it.
No. Fenwick?
Because you'll discuss it.
Grammars.
Oh my.
50 years out.
Jeez.
To hear about using jail.
So, okay, so these get voted separately.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
no, I'm still not a
Okay,
super,
thank you.
I'm not a
Okay, everybody ready?
Oh my goodness. Terrible.
Hi, we had a bit of an agenda ordering discussion here. Everybody ready?
Ready?
I've seen it, looks really bad.
Sorry, I'm not fully ready. Just a second here.
Great alternative.
What am I doing? All my pieces of paper here. Okay. All right. Good evening. What day is this? Okay. Welcome to the August 19th, 2024 Combined Workshop and Special Meeting of the Village of Western Springs Village Board of Trustees. To honor our nation's heroes and especially to honor the individuals who serve and protect our community, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay. Deputy Manager Bernecki. May we please have the roll call?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian,
Here.
Trustee Chen,
Here.
Trustee Fink,
Here.
Trustee Lewis,
Here.
Trustee Naraki,
Here.
and Trustee Terrell.
Here.
All right, very good. All right, moving on in our agenda, citizen comments. I don't see anybody here. Nothing to read in. All right, very good. Then we will move on to our agenda, and I'm going to begin with several appointments and reappointments. For our various commissions, we have several people whose terms are up for reappointment, and actually one appointment. First, we have the reappointment of Michelle Johan as member of the Plan Commission for a 3-year term to expire on August 19th, 2027. Next is the reappointment of Peter Hansen as a member of the Plan Commission for a 3-year term, also to expire on August 19th, 2027. Next, the reappointment of Irene Combs as the chair of the Economic Development Commission for a 3-year term, also to expire on August 19th, 2027. Next, the reappointment of Marcia Buell as chair of the Board of Fire and Police Commission for a 3-year term to expire on September 24th, 2027. Next, the reappointment of Janet Dahl as a member of the Board of Fire and Police Commission for a 3-year term to expire on September 24th, 2027. The reappointment of James Maragos as a member of the Board of Fire and Police Commission for a 3-year term to expire on September 24th, 2027. Next, the reappointment of Lee Fry as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term to expire on August 19th, 2029. Next, the reappointment of Mitch Johnson as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 3-year term to expire, should be a 5-year term to expire on August 19th, 2029. Next, the reappointment of Michael Vespa as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term to expire on August 19th, 2029. The reappointment of Erica Lord as member of the Transportation and Safety Commission for a 3-year term to expire on August 19th, 2027. And last, we have the appointment of Jill Izzo as the Deputy Village Clerk, a recommendation by Clerk Timmick, which is very exciting. Welcome. All right. Moving on in the agenda, we will begin with our committee reports, and we'll start with Finance Committee. Trustee Chen.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee met last Wednesday, and we discussed the items that are listed on tonight's board agenda, and I would like to report the following. On the Downtown South Tax Increment Financing, TIF expenditure, construction related to the Burlington Avenue Water Main and Streetscape Improvement Project, the Finance Committee reviewed carefully the proposal to use TIF funds and reviewed the calculation, including the current TIF fund balance, the amount of advance from the Water and Sewer Capital Maintenance Fund, and the requested budget amendment for the cost of the project. The Finance Committee recommends the authorization of the use of TIF funds for this project. I believe we'll hear more from Trustee Fink on the project later in the reports. Budget amendment related to the aforementioned project was also discussed. The requested budget amendment is in the amount of $1,611,993, and it is recommended to the village board from our discussion in the Finance Committee. Okay, there are 2 other budget amendments related to the Recreation Department that were discussed in Finance Committee, and I'll report on as follows. You'll hear also about the projects from Trustee Avakian, but we're reporting from Finance on the funding and the finance related to those projects. So first is the Grand Avenue Gymnasium improvements. The Recreation Department is requesting a budget amendment in the amount of $179,594 for the Grand Avenue Gymnasium improvements from the Recreation Fund balance. The project components will be discussed further in her report from Properties and Rec. The project was budgeted in financial year 2023. However, when the PARC grant was announced, the scope of the project was expanded and put on hold until notification of the grant awards. Since the grants weren't awarded prior to finalization of the fiscal year 2024 budget, neither the anticipated grant revenues nor the project expenses were included in the 2024 budget. Unfortunately, the village was not awarded the grant, and the project scope returned to the original scope as presented. The additional funding would be provided from the recreation fund balance. The recreation fund balance has been reserved annually with the intent to provide for capital projects. We reviewed and we recommend the approval of ordinance 24-3207 and for the item to be placed on the omnibus. Okay, the second item related to the recreation department is the recreation playground surfacing. The recreation department is requesting a budget amendment for a total of $101,740 for the recreation center playground resurfacing from the recreation fund balance. Again, the project will be discussed from Trustee Avakian and her report from Properties and Rec. The 2024 budget included $20,000 for this project. Originally, the plan included replacement of only the worst sections of the surfacing, but staff recommends replacing all the existing surfacing, excluding under the playground, and to include the area that currently has wood chips. Additional drainage is also recommended to alleviate standing water at ponds in the northwest corner of the building after rainfall. The removal of the current wood chips will reduce the expense of annual replacement and the maintenance issue created when the wood chips clog the existing drainage structure during heavy rainfall. The additional funding would be provided from the recreation fund balance. The recreation fund balance has been reserved annually with the intent to provide funding for capital projects. There's end of the year balances. End of year 2020, the recreation fund balance was $368,360. 12/31/2021, $618,124. The fund balance is going up. If you see this trend, 12/31/2022 was $930,208. 12/31/2023, the fund balance was $1,219,106. If both the Grand Avenue Improvement Project and the Recreation Playground Surfacing Project were to be advanced and funded through the reserves, the fund balance would decrease to approximately $937,772. The fund balance policy requires 25% of operating expenses, which is approximately $415,000 for the Recreation Fund for fiscal year 2024, well within policy guidelines. A staff team from Municipal Services, Recreation Department, and Finance is currently working on the budget and will return with the capital plan for 2025, and a 5-year capital outlook will illustrate how the reserve will fund future improvements. The Finance Committee had additional questions, and we did not give a recommendation but requested a response to those questions prior to the board meeting. Additional information was provided and is included in your packets tonight. Should the board concur, I would recommend we move the item forward with the budget amendment and the approval of ordinance 24-3211. And that concludes my report. I don't know if we had questions about if wood chips or this poured in surface, which one is more economical, and it turns out the cost is about the same. I personally, I don't know of the environmental, the poured in place, it's just not my aesthetic. It's not a natural, it's made from recycled tires, which is information that we were provided afterwards. But it's, to me, the aesthetic is not as natural. And the later years of maintenance on the poured in place, I don't think it looks very good. And it has to be replaced. I think it has a 15-year warranty. So those are sort of the issues. But from an economic finance perspective, it is about the same as the wood chips. So that was what we discussed in committee. And is this the time that we discuss it now?
Probably the project
After?
itself,
Okay.
we would talk about
Okay.
when Properties and Rec
Okay.
begins, but
Yeah.
the budget amendment, this
Yes.
is the time you would
Yeah.
talk about that, the financial.
Yeah.
Any questions then for Nicole Chen, for Trustee Chen on the finances on this?
Okay, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. A lot going on. Okay, let's move on then to general government. Trustee Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have one housekeeping issue. If you remember back in July when we met, we discussed the Harvest Fest, which is set for September 7th. To remind you, the Western Springs Park District and the Business Association, WSBA, have submitted requests for temporary use permit for the event and also a special event liquor license. That's Class I, and that's beer, wine, and hard seltzer sales. This will be at Spring Rock Park, 4400 Central, on the fields north and west of the lower parking lot and the lower parking lot for the Harvest Fest event. That's September 7th. Again, the event will be held in place of the Fall Fest, which we've had every year for several years. Now, we discussed this application at our last meeting in July. We were recommended advancement of the application to the village board. I discussed it in front of you all on July 15th. We agreed with conditions, and we directed staff to finalize the ordinance and temporary use documents for consideration at the meeting. So it went back to the Park District. They've complied with the discussed conditions. As such, this will be an ordinance for approval of event on the omnibus portion of tonight's meeting for action. Any questions about the Harvest Fest? Hope we'll all be there and have better weather than the St. John's Fest this weekend. Other than that, I have no further report.
Okay, anybody any questions? Sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, planning and zoning, Trustee Naraki.
No report tonight, President Rudolph.
All right, thank you. All right, then properties and recreation, Trustee Avakian.
Thank you. Thank you, President Rudolph. As you just heard a little bit about, we have 3 things to talk about. First of all is the Grand Avenue gym improvements. The Recreation Department is requesting consideration of the proposal from the Gorgian Group and the Alpha Chicago Incorporated through the Equalis Group Illinois JOC program for the Grand Avenue gymnasium improvements in the amount of $179,594. The scope of this work, which we've talked about a couple of times before, is the replacement of 2 current backboard structures, the addition of a 3rd backboard structure on the north wall, electronic vertical height adjustment system with control panel for all 3 backboards, wall padding along the gym interior perimeter, and installation of a new shock absorbent spruce plank flooring, including striping and the replacement of ceiling light fixtures with LED lighting, and the painting of all walls, exposed ductwork, conduit, and pipes. This is, as you heard, included in the budget, things that need its entire gym. We've talked about it before. And so the Property and Recreation Committee recommends the approval of Resolution 24-2822 and for the item to be placed on the omnibus. Are there any questions regarding that? The second thing is the recreation playground surfacing, which you also just heard a little bit from the Finance Committee. The Recreation Department is requesting consideration of the proposal from the Gordian Group and Alpha Chicago, the same company working with the Grand Avenue improvements, through the Equalis, I'm probably saying that wrong, Group Illinois JOC program for the Grand Avenue gymnasium improvements in the amount of $121,740. The scope of that work will include removal of 1,700 square feet of the existing poured-in-place rubber surfacing and the removal of 1,500 square feet of existing wood chip surfacing, the installation of a new trench drain system, and the installation of then 3,200 square feet of 4-inch stone base course, and then the installation of 3,200 square feet 1 3/4 poured-in-place rubber surfacing. And a couple comments from my notes from our meeting is that that they had some questions about the environmental effects of the poured-in-place material, and I think those were answered pretty sufficiently for your approval. And when we talked about the wood chip versus this thing, the wood chip financially, like she said, gets splattered all over the place and has to be replaced a lot, so the cost is the same. This lasts a little longer aesthetically. I mean, I see what you're saying, it's not as natural, but as far as durability and it stays where it's supposed to be and the new drainage will help, it might be an overall better solution according to everyone involved. Okay. That knows the stuff better than me. So anyways, any questions on that? Okay. Then the last thing on my issue is the door access control RFP and recommendation, the village issued a request for proposals for the new door access control system on June 24th, 2024. Proposals are due on July 19th by 10 a.m. and the village received 8 responses. The new door access system will provide enhanced security to all municipal buildings by digitizing and locking systems and expanding the control of access permissions. Village staff did an in-depth interview with the lowest bidding vendor, PCTE-CHTU. After the completion of the review process, staff is recommending the system proposed by PC-TECH-TU to offer a solution that will meet the village's needs for the foreseeable future and were the least expensive for the qualified responses, for a total project cost of $151,000. This is a budgeted item for 2024, and staff is waiting for confirmation from the Department of Commerce and Economic Development on the status of grant funds. If we get the grant, they were hoping it would be about $145,000 of the project, so it would leave not that much left, maybe about $15,000 for us to handle. And something we discussed is that the police had walked through and suggested why these would all be important spots to do it and the importance of securing our employees and everything else. So we all thought it was a great idea. Any questions there?
Sounds good.
And that, unless there's anything new, that concludes my report.
Okay, great, very good. Thanks very much. All right, Trustee Lewis, Public Health and Safety.
Thank you, President Rudolph. At our August meeting, the committee reviewed and is recommending approval by the full board of some changes to on-street parking restrictions in the Forest Hills and Field Park neighborhoods. The Transportation and Safety Commission reviewed the proposed parking changes at its July 15th meeting, and they voted unanimously to recommend approval of those changes by the village board. In Forest Hills, residents on Fair Elms Avenue who live across from Forest Hills Elementary School and Forest Hills Park are seeking assistance with traffic congestion caused by parked vehicles on both sides of Fair Elms Avenue. When parked on both sides of the street, vehicles restrict the roadway, making two-way traffic difficult or impossible. It can also be challenging for those people to exit their driveways. The problem appears to be worse at the start and end of the school day, as well as when there are events at the park. As a solution, village staff, the Transportation and Safety Commission, and our Public Health and Safety Committee are recommending the following. And there was a nice illustration of all this in our packets for tonight on page 139. I think it's a little confusing. But as a solution, the village staff are recommending eliminate parking on the west side of Fair Elms between 4938 Fair Elms Avenue and the north right-of-way of 51st Street. Allow parking on the east side of Fair Elms for the entire 4,900 and 5,000 blocks. And that means that current east side parking restrictions along the baseball field that indicate no parking Monday through Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. will be removed. And then they will establish a no parking restriction from 3 to 3:45 p.m. on school days for a short section of Fair Elms on the east side near the school to facilitate bus loading. There's much. No questions. I will move on.
Were there a lot of attendees from the neighborhood there?
I was not at that meeting, at the
That's
Finance
Transportation
Committee.
Committee,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Oh, at our meeting, no.
With
At our committee meeting, we did not have anyone.
I would think the safety of the children too. Kids are always driving out.
I think they had people at the commission.
Yes, they had a
All right,
pretty
commission.
well-attended
Commission
commission
level,
meeting.
okay.
Chief Gilhooly, did you want to comment on the attendance at the
Yeah, at the
hearing?
Transportation and Safety meeting, we did have a large attendance from both traffic concerns we had, so, from both parties, so.
All right, moving on. Residents of the 3900 block of Linden Avenue are also encountering a congested street caused by parking on both sides of the street. In this case, many of the parked cars belong to people playing pickleball at Northeast Park, also known as Candy Cane Park. When parked on both sides of the street, vehicles restrict the roadway, making two-way traffic difficult or impossible, and it also makes it challenging for those residents to back out of their driveways. In response to the resident concerns, the village staff, the Transportation and Safety Commission, and our committee are recommending the village board eliminate parking on the east side of the street along the 3900 block of Linden Avenue. So our committee is asking that both the Fair Elms Avenue and the Linden Avenue changes be added to the omnibus for consideration later tonight. Any questions on that?
So where will people end up parking when these, for both situations, just further up the street with the one side?
On Linden, they'll be parking on the west side of the street and further on 39th, I would think,
Okay.
away from the park, but it's,
People just park a little farther away than if they're on both sides.
yes.
Yeah. And that's the only option, right?
Right.
Or to otherwise just not attend.
Or move the pickleball court.
Right, or not be there, right. But the same with the situation over by Forest Hills, right? It will.
Right, they're eliminating parking on that side of the street by the school and the park, but not further north that
Right.
isn't across the street from
Right.
either one of them.
Right, okay. And so these solutions are both things that the residents feel are going to work? I mean, was this,
It went through the process where one of the residents circulated, it's not a petition, but it's kind of a petition asking for the problem to be addressed.
Okay.
And then staff and the police investigate and come up with a recommendation.
yeah, I saw, I mean, there was a lot of great detail in the packet, a lot of input from residents I saw. And Chief, anything further from your perspective? Just
No, I believe it will definitely be safer for all those involved, and we did have 60% of the residents fill out the waiver or advising that they were for this. They had to have all the affected properties adjacent to it, sign it, which they did get, and then some. And both properties we're discussing had, I bet you we had 15 to 20 people in attendance.
from each of those?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like when I was on the safety and transportation committee years ago, this came up again, the Forest Hill. So I think it's been
Okay.
a recurring,
Okay.
people, for not just the current residents, but I think residents in other years have also
Okay.
brought this up.
Okay, well, I hope this becomes then a good solution, and we'll wanna keep monitoring it, I'm sure.
All right. Earlier this summer, we learned our village will receive a $75,000 grant from the state to develop a plan that will identify and map safe walking and biking paths to Western Springs schools. The final plan will also include recommendations for any needed infrastructure improvements along those routes. The Safe Routes to School grants were announced by the Illinois Department of Transportation and the Governor's Office at the end of May, and we need to adopt a resolution to officially accept the grant, and that resolution is on the omnibus agenda for action later tonight. So
Great.
some good news there. Also at our last meeting, Chief Wahuli gave us an in-depth and excellent review of the 2023 annual police report. You should each have a copy of that in front of you tonight, and I've asked Chief to take a few minutes this evening to share some of the highlights from the report with the full board. And Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Trustee Lewis. Just to give you guys a few highlights of our accomplishments from 2023. Going through the report, the first page is just my letter basically to the village board and President Rudolph along with Manager Bear, just thanking each of you for your constant support. We won't be as successful as we were without your support, so thank you. Moving on to page 4, we have some minor changes to our organizational chart. This year we have a public safety management analyst, Megan Freeman. She's pretty much in charge of our CLIA accreditation, our training, making sure that all the officers are receiving the proper training and tracking it, policies to make sure we're in compliance with all our policies, and also our budget and works with our budget and completing our grants, which we did receive a $58,000 grant this year for license plate readers. On the bottom, you'll see we have additional patrol officers working on each shift. They're known as the power car. The power car is working from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Those are the peak hours where we have an influx calls for service, so we have additional manpower on the street at that time. Moving forward, page 6 and 7, this is our staff, our command staff it starts with myself, Deputy Chief Jasudis, and our sergeants. Continuing on, 8 and 9 are also our staff members. Moving to page 10, we have School Resource Officer Scott McClintock. And then on page 11, we have Detective Ken Laffin, Officer Sean Noonan, Officer Joe Marandino, and Officer Maciek Kalicki. These are 5 new officers that we hired. They have previous police experience. This was, so they're considered a lateral hire, which was definitely beneficial to us. They were able to each go on solo patrol in an expedited manner. Instead of hiring someone, sending them to the police academy where that could take roughly 9 months, we were able to hire them and get them into solo patrol in roughly 6 to 8 weeks. So that was definitely beneficial to the community. Moving on to page 12, there's our support staff, Public Safety Analyst Freeman, Police Chaplain Dean Mockenmeyer, who's been wonderful. He does ride-alongs with our police officers. He comes out, and if there's certain calls for service where someone might need an individual to talk to, he'll come at all hours of the night. He's just a great resource. And then our social worker we added this year is Dana Pavlu. She works 2 days per month, 4 to 5 hour shifts. She's been phenomenal. Basically dealing with crisis-related calls for service, individuals that are having issues with substance abuse, to domestic or juvenile-related issues. So basically comes in prior to each shift and makes phone calls and follow-ups with residents that need assistance. So a great resource to the police department. And then on page 13, we hired a new records clerk, Sarah Crastens. She's also responsible for putting a lot of this yearly report together. She did a great job with that. Sarah was hired in November of 2023. We anticipate additional work coming up with the body cameras regarding FOIA requests, so she'll play an integral role with that. Moving on to page 15, just has our year-end statistics. Citations, we have a total of 3,100 citations issued. That's roughly 8.6 citations per day, but that encompasses tickets, parking tickets, and warning citations as well. You'll see 17% of them were written by CSO Strafacci, and 83% of them were written by sworn personnel. Moving on to page 16, our traffic crash data. We had 207 traffic crashes in 2023, and the vast majority of them occur on Wolf Road. The number 1 was Wolf and Ogden, number 2, Wolf and 47th Street, and number 3, Wolf and 55th Street. What's good about having this information is we're able to deploy our resources to those locations to have higher visibility and a more police presence to basically keep the intersection safer. We can do that by having squad cars in the area or deploying speed trailers in that area. Also, we'll have extra watches, which is known as a directed patrol. Another items of interest going down on page 16, we had 10,648 documented calls for service in 2023. That's a 29% decrease from the prior year. I'm going to attribute a lot of that to Dana having a social worker too. A lot of the calls for service we were going on, we are no longer going on. She's basically taking care of that and taking a proactive stance with that. So our officers have a little more free time to be proactive as well, which also leads to the 2023 arrest number at the top of the page. In 2022, we had 45 arrests, and in 2023, we had 114 arrests. And that also goes with the additional manpower. We're just about at full staff right now as well. Going down to page 17, the crime reports, the crime index reports. Crime index reports, it's a series of crimes that are used to measure the overall crime rate of an area. It's done by the DOJ, Department of Justice. As you'll see in Western Springs, in 2023, we only had 37. That's a pretty remarkable number, I think. And one of the violent offenses we had was robbery, and that was an armed robbery at one of our bakes, which we were able to work with the FBI and the Norwich Police Department and the Stickney Police Department and apprehend that individual responsible. So our crime trends, you could see they're kind of like theft would be the major one with 30, but that could be someone leaving their bike in front of their house unattended. That could be a locker at LT. So that number that number still, I feel, is pretty low. Moving on to page 18, we are a part of LTAC, which is Lyons Township Area Communication Center. We have 4 towns that feed into that, being the Western Springs Police Department, the LaGrange Police Department, LaGrange Park Police Department, and the Countryside Police Department, the fire departments as well. Which is nice about that is we're on the same radio frequency, so there's oftentimes smaller agencies, we assist one another if we need backup in the area too, and they're in close proximity to us as well. We did National Night Out too this past August 6th with all those municipalities too at the Tower Green. Going to page 19, you'll see Narcan, that's kind of in the middle of the page. That counteracts the effects of an opioid overdose. All our police officers carry that, and recently we have had some success stories. The police officers are out there patrolling, so routinely they were able to get there before the fire department is, so it's nice that they have that on them. They also have an AED, which is a portable defibrillator as well. Moving on to page 20 and 21, you'll see just a vast amount of training that our officers have to partake in each year. We have Police Law Institute, that's a monthly test our officers take. We're part of Northeast Multi-Regional Training. Our officers attend various training classes through them, along with CELIA, which is the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy. In addition to that, we do a lot of in-house training. That could be firearms qualifications, firearms training, handcuff defensive tactics, Narcan training, dealing with individuals in crisis, to hazardous materials. We recently met with Aletsby, a representative from Aletsby, which is the Illinois Training and Standard Board representative, who advised that every sworn police officer at the Western Springs Police Department is in compliance with their mandated training, which is also a nice accomplishment. Moving to page 22, it's Mutual Aid, NIPUS. We're part of the Mobile Field Force, which is more or less a crowd control. 100+ jurisdictions feed into this, so if we have a major incident or a protest in town, we can make a phone call, and we could have several officers that are specialized, receive specialized training in this, deployed to our jurisdiction. Officer Vince Gismondi is a part of that now. And we also have Officer Pete Postic, who is part of the EST team, which is the Emergency Service Team. It's more like a SWAT team. So it's a nice insurance policy to have if we should ever need additional assistance. Going to page 23, our Detective Division and Youth Crimes. Detective Ken Laffin and Detective Chase Neighbor are both members of our investigations unit. Some notable cases they had in June of 2023 was the bank robbery I mentioned earlier that was solved. In 2023, we had a home repair fraud. It's kind of like a crime against confidence, where they were able to scam an individual, and we were able to have a successive outcome for that individual, the victim. 2023, a criminal damage felony amount to an ATM machine. And in 2023, we also arrested an individual near the Garden Market with a firearm, which that case was successful as well. Moving to page 24, our detectives are also part of task force. The first one being the MCAT, which is the Major Case Assistance Team. 13 jurisdictions feed into that. These detectives will, if there's a major incident, a burglary, a robbery, we could make a phone call. We could have 12 to 15 detectives at our police department within an hour's time. We're also a member of the South Suburban Major Crime Task Force. They will investigate homicides. And last year alone, our detectives investigated 3 homicides. This is also good for our detectives to get the experience, because they're really not getting as much here as they would in other communities. Special events, we get involved in a lot of community policing events. I call it like humanizing the badge and building trust with our residents. This year, we participate in block parties. In October, we wore the breast cancer pink awareness badge. Coffee with a Cop, which we're going to schedule another one very shortly. We did Chief for a Day for 3 separate individuals. Lyons Township High School football games, National Night Out, which was a success earlier this month. Safety Village, where an officer works there for 2 weeks in conjunction with the fire department, and I know Trustee Avakian is a big part of that as well, and the St. John Family Fest as well. Going to page 25 is the peer jury program. That's basically for juveniles that we want to offer them a second chance. Sometimes arresting them or issuing a citation really isn't the answer. This is a jury that's comprised of their peers. It's overseen by Sergeant A.J. Hall, and they'll decide what the punishments would be. It could be listening to your parents for 3 weeks or writing an I'm sorry letter, but it's showing basically you want a remorse that they feel bad for what they've done, and they're usually more minor offenses as well. Moving to page 26, we have an officer at Lyons Township High School, the South Campus. In the beginning of the year, it was Officer Taylor Fickey, and in the second half of the year, it was Officer Scott McClintock. In addition to ensuring that the campus is safe, and they also teach many classes as well. That could be driver's ed, or it could be drug abuse type classes. Moving on to 27, the chaplain program, I touched on that already. The community service officer, Jim Strafacci, who's been here since 1991. He's done a phenomenal job. He handles motorist assist, traffic control, vehicle lockouts, parking enforcement, and animal type complaints, something to free up a police officer. And he's also oversees the crossing guards, which is on page 28. And currently we have 6 separate crossings throughout town to ensure the kids get to school safely. Department programs, we have a peer support program. In addition to that, Dana Pavlu, our social worker, meets with each officer each year to ensure that they're doing well and to get them additional resources if needed. Once again, taking a proactive stance with that. We install child seats free of charge. If anyone is a new parent and needs some assistance, we have officers that are trained technicians in doing that. And then moving to page 31, we're also on Frontline. Frontline residents could fill out, if they go on vacation, they want a vacation watch. Our officers will go to their house, they'll get out of their squad cars, and they'll check to ensure that the residence is secure. And also we could have directed patrols in there too. If there's traffic issues or any type of problems, it's at the officer's fingertips. And then moving on to page 32, our recruitment team. Like I mentioned earlier, we're down 1 police officer. However, we have 2 that are currently in background right now that we'd like to send to the police academy in the near future. And moving to personnel on the last page, on page 35, the Officer Riley and Officer Ramino left prior to me starting in March 6th of 2023, but Officer Gutschow left to return to the Chicago Police Department, where she was previously a police officer, and Officer Kamal left to go to a bigger police agency. But I think with the recruitment, we're doing pretty well, though, with all that being said. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. The report is very well done and a great reminder of all the important services your department delivers to Western Springs. And as you can see from the statistics in the report, we live in a very safe community. So congratulations to everyone in the Department of Law Enforcement Services for an excellent 2023.
Every year I read this, and I look for violent crimes. 1 violent crime in 3 years. That's a tremendously safe community.
It's amazing.
I hope everyone in this town appreciates, in this village appreciates the good job, the good effort by the police department and citizens. That's just an amazing statistic. And then most of the thefts are identity thefts, things like that.
Yes.
We really live in a very safe community. Echo what you're saying.
Lock your car doors.
Yeah. And lock your car doors, even though it's safe.
And lock your bicycles.
And your bicycles.
And your bicycles, right?
This report too is terrific. It helps us appreciate all that you and the entire department do every day. I think there's so many things in this, from the training and just the innovation. the humanizing the badge that I think is so important, and I know you really stress, and it really shows in the town, the getting to know the community. I think that really helps us just all work together as one to keep us safe. So this is just, again, a terrific report, and as Trustee Terrell says, I feel the same way. Every year I see this report, I think, wow, we're really fortunate. So thank you, and really great. I really hope everybody gets a chance to read this in great detail, because it really is something to have this much success. So thank you.
We
Chief.
appreciate your support and the board's support, and Manager Bears as well. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Yeah.
And that's all I have.
All right. That was a good one to end on. Okay. And last but not least, Trustee Fink, Public Works and Water. You have a couple big things happening.
Only 2 items. So both are about the Burlington Avenue water main and streetscape improvement. So just to remind everyone what this entails, it's a kind of a big project, and the goal is to get all this done before it gets, before the street gets repaved next year. So it's going to be replacing the water mains and the water service lines. It's going to do 2 bump outs of the sidewalk for outdoor dining, expanding the sidewalk bump out the southeast corner of Grand by Oberweis, a raised crosswalk between Wolf and Lawn so people can get to the train platform a little easier, demolition of the planters, and new electrical conduit going underneath the street for improved lighting on that side. So the first thing, Public Works is recommending approving the contract to the lowest bidder, H. Linden and Sons Sewer and Water, not to exceed $1,623,349. So this was a budget item, but not enough money was budgeted for it, just because the scope of the project increased so much, just to make sure to get it all done before everything gets repaved. So to make up for this, it's like Trustee Chen was speaking of before, we're going to use a combination of TIF funds as well as borrowing $767,000 from the Water Sewer Capital Fund, with a plan to repay that over the next 5 years. The other item is the Phase 3 engineering, and so that's just having an engineer on the during the construction to observe to make sure everything's done correctly. The Public Works is recommending the approval of a contract not to exceed $123,643.53 to V3 Construction. And that's all I have.
What is the anticipated start date for this, and what's the communication plan with the businesses?
Yeah, I can take that one.
Please.
We're looking to start work early September, likely September 9th or soon thereafter. We've already made some communication. We've stopped by quite a few of the businesses the last month or so to let them know about the project, give them some preliminary information, got them to the project website. We'll have an open house before the project as well to further communicate once we have a better idea on the specifics of the schedule. But we're hoping to have the project substantially complete before Thanksgiving. So that would be the plan.
There will be some of the time where water won't be available, right? During this.
There will be some scheduled outages to connect all the old pipes to the new pipes. And there'll also be water service lines replaced, so that's typically a brief outage for that as well. We'll have to coordinate that all individually with each business, because every business has different needs as far as water use. So we wrote the project specifications to kind of account for that, to give us the flexibility to be able to be reactive to the business community and try to minimize the impact. There will be an impact. Obviously, it's a significant improvement downtown, but we're hoping the end result will be a benefit to the downtown and the community.
Yeah, agreed. I think the end result, the plan looks terrific in terms of the overall feel and just accessibility, as well as just the infrastructure upgrade, which is, as we all know, very, very needed. So the time frame seems, that really seems not too bad of a duration if you're saying
it's
starting.
It's a pretty it's aggressive time frame where there's not a lot of wasted time in there. There'll be some overlapping activities. Essentially, we'll try to complete the work one block at a time, so we're not taking both blocks up at once. That's the current plan. But inevitably with underground work, there could be some surprises and challenges that come up, so we'll have to work through them. But that's our current hope, is to stick to that schedule.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
away.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, so we will move on then to the omnibus vote for most of our items, and then we will come back to a couple of the separate items. So the Illinois state statutes allow a municipality to collectively vote on a group of ordinances, resolutions, and other motions, such as awards of contract, appointments, etc. This is known as an omnibus vote. All the items contained on the omnibus vote list have been previously discussed by the President and Board of Trustees on at least one occasion, like tonight, and often on several occasions, which include our committees and commissions. By placing them on the omnibus vote list, a single vote may be taken to approve them. A trustee may remove any item from the list and have it discussed and voted on separately prior to the omnibus vote. Is there any such request this evening? All right, very good. Trustee Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the following ordinances, resolutions, and motions as contained on the meeting agenda for August 19, 2024 be adopted and/or approved under an omnibus vote. Agenda item number 1, approval of the meeting minutes of July 15, 2024 as read. Agenda item number 2, ordinance number 24-3206, an ordinance approving the creation of Class I at special events on property owned or leased by a not-for-profit organization, liquor license for issuance to the Western Springs Park District for the 2024 Harvest Fest special event to be held on Saturday, September 7th, 2024 in Spring Rock Park. Agenda item number 3, ordinance number 24-3207, an ordinance approving a budget amendment transfer over $10,000 to the fiscal year 2024 operating budget in the Downtown South TIF Fund and Recreation Fund. Agenda item number 4, ordinance number 24-3208, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of an engineering services agreement with V3 Companies for construction observation engineering services and its Exhibit 1, Rider 2 Engineering Services Agreement for the Burlington Avenue Water Main and Streetscape Improvements Project, and authorizing certain expenditures from the Downtown South Tax Increment Financing District to pay for such services. Agenda item number 5, ordinance number 24-3209, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive and qualified bid and authorizing the approval and execution of a construction agreement with Linden & Sons Sewer and Water Incorporated of Plano, Illinois, for the construction of the Burlington Avenue Water Main and Streetscape Improvements Project, and authorizing certain expenditures from the Downtown South Tax Increment Financing District Fund and the Water Main and Sewer Capital Maintenance Fund to pay for such construction work, subject to repayment of the Water and Sewer Capital Maintenance Fund of its funds expended on the project by the Downtown South Tax Increment Financing District Fund. Agenda item number 6, ordinance number 24-3210, an ordinance amending Title 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 4, Traffic Schedules, Section 3, Schedule 3, Parking Limitations and Prohibitions of the Western Springs Municipal Code relative to posting no parking at any time on the west side of Fair Elms Avenue from 4938 Fair Elms Avenue to the north right-of-way line of 51st Street, removing the current parking restrictions on the east side of Fair Elms Avenue, and posting no parking between 3 and 3:45 on school days between a point 150 feet north of the north right-of-way of 51st Street and 215 north of the north right-of-way of the 51st Street, and no parking at any time on the east side of the 3900 block of Linden Avenue from the south right-of-way line of 39th Street to the north right-of-way line of 40th Street. Agenda item number 7, resolution number 24-2822, a resolution waiving the competitive bid process and authorizing the approval and execution of a contract with Gordian Group and Alpha Chicago Incorporated of Chicago, Illinois, for the furnishing of labor, materials, and construction for the Grand Avenue Gym improvements, and authorizing the expenditure of village funds in the amount of $179,594 to pay for the project. Agenda item number 8, resolution number 24-2823, a resolution approving the appointment of Jill Izzo as Deputy Village Clerk for the Village of Western Springs effective August 19th, 2024. Agenda item number 9, resolution number 24-2824, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of an agreement accepting funds from the fiscal year 2025 Safe Routes to School Grant Program between the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois, and the Illinois Department of Transportation for the preparation of a village-wide travel to school plan. Agenda item number 10, resolution number 24-2825, a resolution approving the waiver of the competitive bidding process in lieu of solicitation of competitive proposals and authorizing the approval and execution of a vendor contract for goods, supplies, and services and its attached Exhibit A, a proposal dated July 19, 2024, and its Exhibit B, rider to the contract general provisions, to be entered into with the lowest cost qualified and responsive contractor PC Tech 2U of Rockford, Illinois, for the purchase of a Verkada door access control system, total cost $151,000. Agenda item number 11, motion to approve the following reappointments and appointments. L, reappointment of Michelle Johan as member of the Plan Commission for a 3-year term to expire on August 19, 2027. M, reappointment of Peter Hansen as member of the Plan Commission for a 3-year term to expire on August 19, 2027. N, reappointment of Irene Combs as chair of the Economic Development Commission for a 3-year term to expire on August 19, 2027. O, reappointment of Marcia Buell as chair of the Board of Fire and Police Commission for a 3-year term to expire on September 24, 2027. P, reappointment of Janet Dahl as a member of the Board of Fire of Police Commission for a 3-year term to expire on September 24, 2027. Q, reappointment of James Maragos as a member of the Board of Fire and Police Commission for a 3-year term to expire on September 24, 2027. R, reappointment of Lee Fry as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term to expire on August 19, 2029. S, reappointment of Mitch Johnson as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term to expire on August 19, 2029. T, reappointment of Michael Vespa as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term to expire on August 19, 2029. U, reappointment of Erica Lord as a member of the Transportation and Safety Commission for a 3-year term to expire on August 19, 2027. And V, appointment of Jill Izzo as Deputy Village Clerk, recommendation by Clerk Timick.
Good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions? All right. Deputy Manager Bernacki, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
Trustee Tyrrell?
Aye.
And President Rudolph?
Aye.
The ordinances, resolutions, and motions contained on the meeting agenda of August 19th, 2024 are hereby adopted and or approved.
Thanks very much. Okay, we have a couple of items that are new business. They have been discussed a bit tonight, but they were ones that did not come out of committee with the recommendation, so we're gonna go back to those. The first one, Trustee Chen, about the playground.
Okay. Item number 1, ordinance number 24-3211, an ordinance approving budget amendment and transfer over $10,000 to the fiscal year 2024 operating budget in the Recreation Fund for the cost of construction for the Recreation Center Playground resurfacing project.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and I think a roll call vote on each of these, right? Okay, can we have the roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
Trustee Tyrrell?
Aye.
And President Rudolph?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good, thanks very much. And then the next one, Trustee Avakian, I believe, will tee up for this.
The second item is resolution number 24-2826, a resolution waiving the competitive bid process and authorizing the approval and execution of a contract with Gordian Group and Alpha Chicago Inc. of Chicago, Illinois for the furnishing of labor, materials, and construction for the Recreation Center Playground resurfacing project and authorizing the expenditure of village funds in an amount of $121,740 to pay for the project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you for that second, Trustee Chen. And may we have the roll call vote?
Of course. Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
Trustee Tyrrell?
Aye.
And President Rudolph.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on, we'll go to the reports and our monthly financial report from Trustee Chen.
Thank you. The report is in the packets for tonight's meeting, and it actually contains a lot of information that I reported on the other monthly reports. So I'll just call out a couple items. The July cash and investment summary. Village operating funds equal $26,699,750. Village trust and agency funds $21,385,411 for a village total of $48,085,161. And I guess as far as fund activity in the general fund, I think it's interesting to note that to date, approximately 70% of the 2023 tax levy has been distributed from the county. Sales tax collections and LGDF distributions are in line with anticipated amounts included in the budget. And then the other thing that's interesting to talk about is water consumption. Consumption billed in June for the period covering March 15th, 2024 to May 15th, 2024, and consumption billed in July, period covering April 15th, 2024 to June 15th, 2024. Year-to-date consumption is about 15.8% less than the same period billed in 2023, and the amount of treated water being pumped out of the water plant has also decreased compared to last year, indicating that water demand has been lowered throughout the community in 2024 compared to 2023. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. That's the report. Okay. Motion, I make a motion to accept the June and July 2024 financial reports as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
And Trustee Tyrrell.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving on, and the reports, I have no report other than to wish everyone a safe and fun back to school. I can't believe it's already started, so I hope people have enjoyed their summers. Certainly had a lot of great events and activities occurring. The French Market, I think, has been very successful. The Jammin' in July, a lot of great activities, and now we're back to school. So I hope, again, everyone has a safe week and that everything goes smoothly. Manager Rear?
I just have a few items. Between now and our next board meeting, we'll be seeing a technology upgrade in this room. You will be losing these small outdated screens here that barely connect to anything. And we'll be getting some new equipment that has better visuals for both our audience as well as the board, and we'll be able to connect to your iPad, so when we project things, you'll be able to see them right on your iPad. So I believe there's some additional sound equipment and other things to try to improve some of our broadcasting, and Director Pat Schramm has been working on that project and wanted me to let you know it's coming. And there will be some days where the boardroom is unavailable, but we will try to get your committee meetings in sort of in between the construction of that. There is some information on the website regarding branch pickup. Following the storm of August 16th, we had Public Works out to begin picking up branches and things that were brought out to the curb. The guidelines for that are on the website, so I just wanted to mention that in case residents wondered about the rules regarding branch pickup by the Public Works Department. But I also want to thank our staff, Jeff Koza, Chris Brakey and his Public Works team, and several members of the fire department had a very immediate response as we started to see the storm's intensity creating some on-street flooding during this past storm. Both Springdale and Ridgewood were affected, and thank you to Jeff for coming out in the middle of the night and really making sure that both Public Works and the fire department were able to get what they needed and identify the areas that were most affected. As you know, we're working on several projects. Ridgewood and Springdale are two of the largest projects for stormwater, but we're very much looking forward to starting to see some solutions. The Park District will be looking at an IGA from the village at their next meeting, and we hope to have this move along so that we can begin the Springdale project as soon as possible. I also wanted to mention that recreation registration is open for the fall. There's more information on the website. And the French Market continues for the next several weeks. I believe it ends in October. We have a few big events pairing with that, including a Leap with Lucy night where we'll have some jumping going on the Tower Green. So bring out your little kids, and people will be able to jump on inflatables. It was a recommendation from one of our younger residents named Lucy, and Lucy will be out there with her family to enjoy the evening. So we hope you'll be able to join us for that. More information on our website about the other events that are coming up being paired with the French Market. And then I just wanted to again welcome Jill Izzo, who's our new Deputy Village Clerk. Thank you to the board for approving her this evening. Jill will be sworn in tomorrow and begin her official duties working with Clerk Timick and myself and Attorney Jerusik and the rest of the team. So welcome, Jill. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. And Attorney Jerusik.
Short report, none.
Okay, that's pretty short. Thank you. Okay, then I believe we're going to recess to closed meeting.
Yes.
Yes, I would have a motion to adjourn the combined workshop and special meeting and recess to closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of a public body or legal counsel for the public body pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statute 120/2(1).
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned to closed session.
Do you want to see that we're not going to come back? Because we reclosed this meeting, so just, yeah, indicate
Okay.
we're not going to come
Okay.
back or do anything.